Welcome to the newest episode of Beyond the Fame with Jason Fraley. I'm your host, Jason Fraley, picking the brains of the top filmmakers, musicians, and artists of our time. Tomorrow marks the 35th anniversary of Oliver Stone's Vietnam War masterpiece Platoon, which went on to win 4 Oscars, including Best Picture. I spoke with the film's antagonist, Tom Berenger, when he came to the GI Film Festival in 2017, as well as memories of his role as catcher Jake Taylor in the baseball comedy Major League. Tom, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you, Jason. I'm glad to be here.
How many years have you been coming out to the GI Fest, or is this the first year?
This actually is the first year. I was going to come up to ride with a Vietnam vet. My wife and I were going to ride in the parade with the vets, and we thought we'd do that at least once in our life and experience that. And, well, then it just happened to turn out that this was happening at the same time, and I got invited to this. So, yeah, they're a little bit interconnected, with the veterans, this film festival. So,
oh yeah, absolutely.
Just kind of a happenstance, but here I am.
Awesome. Well, before we dive into the festival, tell me a little bit more about that. You guys you and your wife are going to ride your motorcycles with Rolling Thunder?
Yes, sir. Mm-hmm.
That's so awesome. Have you done that before?
No, I talked to a Marine general friend of mine, and he said, "Oh, you're going to love that." He says, "You look back behind you as far as you can see. Same thing as far ahead. I don't know, 500,000 bikes, maybe something like that. I don't know."
Wow.
So that'd be kind of a once in a lifetime experience.
I would say. What kind of bike do you have?
Well, we both have Harley Street Glides.
Okay.
Mine's 14, hers is 15. Yeah.
That's awesome. Where do you guys usually ride? Do you ever go out to Sturgis, or where do you usually do?
We have been in Sturgis. We were in Sturgis last year, and we are coming back again this year, only like a kind of an invitation by Rod Woodward, the famous Woody of the Buffalo Chip up north of Sturgis there, a little bit out of town. And he's like kind of hosting us, and the director, Carmen Cangelose, of a film we did called American Dresser, which is about, oddly enough, 2 vets leaving Long Island and riding across the country to Oregon and back.
That's so awesome. Well, that's really cool. But explain, compared to those other events, this Memorial Day, ride with Rolling Thunder's got to be just that. I mean, it's just going to give you goosebumps. Explain why is it so important that you guys wanted to come up and take part of that?
Well, it's a bucket wish to some degree, and we'll know a few of the people in it. So it just sounds like it would be fun. I hope it's fun. May not be so much if it rains real hard.
You'll roll with it.
Yeah, we'll roll with the thunder.
You hope it. Yeah, you'll put the thunder in the Rolling Thunder. Oh, that's so great.
Yeah.
And the thunder rolls. Oh, that's so great. All right, well, let's dive into the festival a little bit. So, you said this is your first time coming up for this, but I know I'm pretty sure there's 2 events with you, right? You're going tonight, Wednesday night. You're going to this thing on Capitol Hill, and then also on Saturday there's this cinematic salute to the troops with I guess Judd Nelson from Breakfast Club and Jamie Kaler, the comedian. Do you know what to expect from each? Like, I guess let's go one at a time. What do you know what's going to go down tonight on the Hill?
I know I'm supposed to say a few words. Wish I could just sit around and have a glass of wine, but no, gotta pay the piper, I guess. So
right.
I'll have to say something to them, and I'm gonna talk about how disappointed I was in my congressmen and senators from my state that I couldn't get into West Point.
You tell them.
Yeah, 2 other guys from my class did too. I couldn't believe that.
What's up? What's wrong with you? Come on.
I don't know, but a lot of held-in anger about that one.
I can tell. You showed them.
I never became, an Army officer, and I ended up a soldier of the cinema.
Hey, well, we'll take it, man. Well, speaking of which, I mean, come on. I mean, I'm sure you're asked about it all the time, but you're gonna go down in history for Platoon. I mean, why'd you have to do Willem Dafoe dirty like that in that movie?
It depends on whose point of view you're looking at.
True, very true.
Yeah,
that's so great. But just, I mean,
I found that the vets were not so judgmental about me.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's true. Yeah. Oh, that's actually a good way to look at it. But man, when you look back at that movie, I mean, God, all the careers that were launched. Charlie Sheen and Johnny Depp is in that movie. Forrest Whitaker's in that movie. Corey Glover.
John McGinley and
God, Keith David and Willem Dafoe. Oh my God! Not to mention Oliver Stone's career. So just talk about like.
Well, I worked with Keith David on that story about the two vets that go from Long Island out to Oregon.
Right. Exactly.
We're like the two guys. We're like friends, and we're kind of on our last legs for different reasons,
But just talk about, just sort of that before we move off Platoon, just sort of that movie's, the legacy. I mean, the adagio of strings is just like heartbreaking and such a stark reminder of the horrors of war.
Yes. And I'm glad you brought up that adagio to strings, because here's a classical piece written in 1924, and Oliver grabbed it, used it, and I hear it sometimes, like just once in a while, and it just makes you want to cry when you're driving down the highway or something like that. You're by yourself.
Yeah. We fought it. What's the line in the end? We fought against ourselves. Yeah.
Yep.
It brings it all back, man.
Yep.
All right, awesome. Transitioning from that, though, I guess a non-war movie. Were you and Charlie Sheen cast in Major League off of working together in that movie, or was it just totally coincidence?
I don't think so, but it was. We were like the first two people that David Ward casted, and I never really asked him that. After all these years, I still haven't asked him that. I should sometime, but. And Charlie called me and he says, "Are you going to do this?" And I said, "Yeah, I think it's great. Don't you?"
It's hilarious.
He said, "Well, I do. I just wanted to check and make sure." And I said, "Yeah, I'm in." "Okay, I'm in too." I said, "Great." And Charlie, I remember the first day he threw to me was he threw 10 pitches. Okay,
yeah.
And 9 of them were on the edges of the strike zone.
So
and one was a little wild outside low. And that was the first 10 pitches. So he had really, really good control. He was a good baseball player.
So he could paint the corner. So he was literally just a bit outside, like not like the movie. He could actually hit the corners.
Yes.
Oh,
yeah.
Wow.
And I think on his best day, he was throwing about 89, 88, 89, something like that.
That's incredible. That's great.
That's what I was guessing. I caught a guy with the Savannah Cardinals, was minor league for St. Louis, and I caught him one day. We went down there and practiced with him, and I caught this pitcher, and he threw 94. Man. So I'm judging by that.
That's great. I mean, it is like that movie still to this day is like pee your pants funny. But I also think the reason it works is like it doesn't build up to the big dramatic home run off the lights and all that. I love that you drop down the bunt. How awesome was that when you read that in the script and say, "Hey, I get to drop a bunt down to win this"?
I know, and I got it on the first take too. It was like a perfect drag bunt right down to the third baseline. And of course, they're going, well, this guy, he's a catcher. He's in his last couple of seasons, he's slow, because catchers do slow down because they shorten their hamstrings.
Yeah.
And so he's not going to beat out a grounder. And that third baseman backs up to the edge, okay, I got all the time in the world here against this guy. And I kind of do all that Babe Ruth stuff to make it look like I'm swinging away. And it's just a little bunt, and you see him. You don't hear his voice, but you can read his lips. He goes, "Oh shit!" He sees that bunt, great, lollygagging down the third base line.
Yeah, that's so great. I think didn't you guys shoot? I think you shot the sequel up at Camden Yards when it was pretty new in Baltimore. You should take the Harley up there and pay tribute. You're gonna be here.
We've been on the road. We did 5 days at Bike Week, and then we were like a couple of days in the Outer Banks, and then we drove through the rain. We have bikes on a trailer.
Yeah.
Thank God. And we drove through the rain all day yesterday to get here, and checked in the hotel and just sort of collapsed. And then we got to drive all the way back home to South Carolina. So, we got a long haul back, and I've got to go to Ireland in like man, I don't know, like 6 days after I get home.
Oh my God.
7 days
And
to
that
do another job. Yeah.
Ireland's a rough motorcycle ride across the Atlantic. That's tough.
I wouldn't mind doing the west of Ireland on a bike. That'd be kind of cool.
Absolutely.
But you are riding on the other side of the road, so you always got to be aware of that.
That is true. Well, we are. I mean, you and I could go tangents all day on dropping down bunts and motorcycles, but bring it back to the military stuff. Gettysburg. What was it like shooting that movie, man? That must have been.
Well, it was just sort of awe inspiring. I feel very lucky to have been in that because I think there's only like, I don't know, 2 good Civil War movies, and Civil War is very, very, very difficult to do. I feel Gettysburg kind of said it all, like the book that it was based on, The Killer Angels, which won the Pulitzer Prize for History in 1974. Historical fiction, excuse me. And I said, well, here it is. This is the one chance to do this. And it was pretty awe-inspiring. I mean, all those reenactors in there and stuff. We had 5,000 infantry for Pickett's charge. We had 50 cannons with 5-man crews. There was Buford's cavalry on the first day of battle, and we actually got chills in the heat. We actually got chills under those wool suits, being in those. And of course, you got the drums and the fifes playing and everything too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Well,
I remember when they go fix bayonets before Pickett's charge, right?
Yeah.
And they all click on, and it's like 5,000 bayonets click on down along the tree line in 3 columns. Yeah. Ooh.
Goosebumps under the wool.
Yeah.
Oh,
you get a kind of feeling. I mean, well, of course they had fear, of course, but you get a kind of feeling like, whoa, wow, this is something. On the same thing up on Little Round Top, where Jeff Daniels is his Chamberlain. It's like he goes, all right, enough of this nonsense. We got to attack downhill. They got to be exhausted, tired. They can't keep this up. But we're going to attack them.
Oh, man.
And they fix bayonets and they charge down.
It's insane. It really is, man. That was a different time, man. Holy cow.
Oh yeah.
But aren't you we talked to the festival director of GI Fest, and he says you're pretty much a military buff. He says it's nice when not only it's like the celebrity sizzle that comes in, but that the guys are really into the subject matter and the history and really want to watch these movies. So how did you? Was it just your own service? Is that what sort of sparked it for you, or is there a certain time of military history that you really love researching?
No. I mean, I feel fortunate. I've done the Mexican War, the Civil War, the Spanish-American War, and World War II. I don't know if I'm going to be around long enough to do World War I and the Revolution, or the War of 1812. But that'd have been great. But I did a lot of them, so I'm happy about that because I did enjoy all of them.
That's so awesome. So why should our listeners come out to the cinematic salute to the troops on Saturday night? I know it's a star-studded lineup and a couple awesome little short films that they're going to show as well. But why should we come out? I mean, there really is no more important thing that we can do than pay tribute to these vets and troops this weekend in particular. Yes, and
I'm thinking back on some stuff like. An old friend of mine was Max Cleland, who was a senator from Georgia, and before he became senator, he's not now, but before he became one, he was appointed head of the Veterans Affairs by Jimmy Carter, and I know here he was in a wheelchair, a triple amputee, and he was racing across the country. And just doing sneak attacks on veterans hospitals, going, all right, enough of this. This needs to be cleaned up. This has to be done. They never knew he was coming. So it was like, whoa, officer on the deck, inspection, woo,
Yeah.
and that's how he would do it. And, God bless him, he had the energy to do it. And so, it goes on, and it's always going to be around, and you got to take care of him. And it's like, Napoleon tried to do it with his troops,
Right.
He was big on veterans. He even provided some college educations for kids and widows' funds and stuff. And that wasn't always done, back in those times. I mean, and soldiers many times are more volunteer than professional. But it wasn't always done many years ago. People just walked around. After the American Revolution, people don't know this, but there were a lot of kind of crippled people and people that had lost their farms while they were fighting for so many years. That was an 8-year war. And they lost their farms, they lost their jobs, some of them lost limbs or just had problems, from campaigning for so long. And what did they get out of it? Well, not much. Jefferson got them some land over in the new areas up to the Mississippi, and most of them sold them off to land speculators because they needed money right away, but at least they got something,
Right.
And the Romans were real good when they finally became a professional army, under Augustus. They finally provided farms in the new lands like North Africa and stuff like that for their old, non-coms and NCOs and whatnot, and, took care of guys that had spent their life in the army.
That's fascinating, sort of what it says about each of these societies and civilizations, how they each take care of their warriors. It's fascinating comparing it history like you just did with Augustus. That's amazing. And then take it to, back up to like Vietnam era, and a lot of those guys felt neglected when they got back. So I'm glad, I don't know if it was like a post 9/11 thing where that sort of started shifting and, it started honoring the troops more maybe around then, but yeah, I'm glad to see events like this at the GI Fest doing this. Talk about sort of how these guys, a lot of the cool thing about this festival too is that it's movies by veterans, that some of them are now directing movies that are in this festival.
Yes.
Is that a rare thing in the film industry, or is there more crossover than people think?
I think it was. I think Oliver was sort of an exception. I know when I started in the business, a lot of there were a couple directors that had, were veterans of World War II, and maybe Korea. There were first assistant directors that were veterans, and they were very military the way they ran their operations, which was great. It was great the way they did it.
Right.
And then they all started like either dying or retiring or this, and they started disappearing. Robert Altman did something like, 35 to 40 bomber runs in Southeast Asia, over into China, fighting the Japanese and stuff.
Yeah. This is before MASH, you mean?
Yeah.
Oh, wow, that's so great.
Yeah.
Well, actually, and I know in like the golden age, back in World War II, I know a lot of those guys like William Wyler and George Stevens and Frank Capra, they went over and they shot, the films for the Why We Fight kind of stuff. So is it rare?
The guy, I don't recall his name, but that movie, The Big Red One, I think with Lee Marvin or something. Of course, Lee Marvin got wounded at Guadalcanal with the Marines, but he was with the First Division when they landed at D-Day and stuff, and fought across France and into Germany and stuff with the First Infantry Division, and and there was a director,
You talking about Sam Fuller?
Mm-hmm, Sam Fuller. Right.
God, what a good filmmaker, man! Pick up on South Street, man. All right, we could go all day, but awesome. Well, I just love that you appreciate military history and movie history and motorcycle history, the 3 M's, all at the same time. Awesome. Well, just in closing, we'll let you run. We know you've been more than generous, but just in closing, why should we come out?
I think there's a real variety of different stuff there. They do. When I asked Brandon Miller, the director of this, I said, now do you do comedies? He goes, yeah, we'll do comedies. I can't tell you how many of these might be. I said, he says we do foreign films too. I went, really? Wow. Okay, that's cool. Because there's some pretty good foreign military movies.
Yeah.
Yeah, there are.
Awesome. Yep. Tons of variety. Cinematic Salute to the Troops with Tom Berenger. Sir, you're more than generous with your time. Thank you so much, and thanks for all the great movies and memories through the movies. We appreciate it.
God, thank you, Jason. Appreciate it.
Thanks so much for joining us on Beyond the Fame with Jason Fraley. Remember to hit the subscribe button and give us a 5-star rating if you like what you hear. We'll see you next time. I wanted to take a second to tell you about an app I really enjoy. Living in the DC area is great, and Podcast DC gathers all of the local shows that I like all in one local app. Health, sports, local news, politics, and so much more. Podcast DC is the new local app with hundreds of DC area podcasts to choose from. I can earn exciting rewards just for listening and share the podcasts I love instantly. Available in the App Store or in Google Play, listen local with Podcast DC.